Let's face it, AI has become a thorn in the butt for just about anyone who doesn't look like a human reptile. And you don't really have to research too long to find out why. Just look at what's been happening recently. RAM prices have absolutely skyrocketed to never before seen levels because of AI data centers buying.
Oh, that's why Niana was tweeting about this. I keep seeing tweets about RAM prices, and I was just like, I just thought they were trying to buy some RGB, like Corsair crazy RAM. That's like all the RAMs are soaring in prices. Oh, no shot. Dude, we're fucked. Everything's going up except our wallets.
Them all up. And just as people were starting to delay their plans of upgrading their PC because of this, AI targeted a new victim. SSDs are now rising in value very quickly and could double and even triple within the next few months because of them. This is not looking good. But while PC builders are finally starting to see the negative impact of what AI can do to them, there's a particular set of people who've been having to deal with AI for years now. And of course, I'm referring to none other than artists. I mean, things have gotten so bad that, just as an example, a Japanese game studio recently started making applicants draw in front of them during interviews to prove that they're not using generative AI. Yes, that's how good it's gotten. Take a look at this drawing. It looks absolutely stunning, right? What about this one? I mean, damn. Everything from the eyes to the facial expression to the outfit. This one doesn't look AI. It would have normally taken a lot of talent to be able to draw something like this, except in both of these cases, no one actually drew them. It was AI generating an image. That's just how worryingly good it's gotten. However, when it comes to these two drawings that I showed you, the accounts that posted them very clearly say that they're using AI. There's no problem there. But unfortunately, not everyone is like that. In fact, many people try to make it seem like they were the ones who drew it. Some are so shameless that they go as far as charging people money to draw them sketches, when in reality, there's absolutely no drawing involved. People are paying for someone to draw something for them and are just getting something that was generated in an AI for free. Now, usually, these people can be easily caught by simply asking for a PSD file. This allows you to see the different layers used for drawing and can pretty much expose an AI user very quickly. However, recently, it hasn't been so easy. There's a new breed of people using AI to pass it off as their own drawings, and they have become a...
The DDR RAM situation is bad and getting worse. Oh my god, you guys. I need to check if I have some extra RAM laying around. It's been very hard to tell how fast AI generation is getting really, really good, man.
Real problem. Those people are tracers. What they do is generate an AI drawing, but instead of just ending it there, they take it a step further by drawing on top of it. This allows them to make these time lapses that makes it seem like they're legitimate, like they're actually drawing what they're presenting. Now, to the average person that doesn't draw, this seems normal, and this would calm any doubts they might have. For experienced artists, though, they understand that drawing is a very messy process initially. There's no such thing as just drawing perfect lines and calling it there. This is why it's been so much harder to prove if someone's actually using AI, and it's been getting to a point where some people are able to slip through the cracks long enough to garner a huge following. For this video, of course, we're talking about none other than AsamiArts, someone who has garnered almost 100,000 followers on their page.
Hi Rina, I'm glad I bought 128 gigs of DDR5 RAM. Hopefully I won't have to buy any new RAM anytime soon, or I'm gonna have to do a subathon just to afford it. Thank you for the 9 months, Lugia. Thank you. All of your memberships will go towards the RAM funds
That they barely made a year and a half ago, while managing to build a big, loyal audience. Now, seeking to expose someone like this is no small feat, but Teru, an experienced artist, went above and beyond to show everyone that Asami was tracing AI. They were not legitimate.
They really did go above and beyond
for commissions. On December 1st, 2025, they would post, AsamiArts is tracing AI. This is an account with nearly 100,000 followers who has been taking dozens of commissions through VGen. Here is the evidence. And my god, does this document provide proof.
It so nice.
It goes deep into the most minute details imaginable while presenting everything in such an amazing way. I almost shed a tear by how well this document was formatted.
Me too.
Especially after the awful last few we've looked at. And seeing how AI unfortunately doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, this means that issues like this will keep happening on an even greater level. So it's important for us to understand what to look for and why this is such a big deal. This is why I figured that we had to talk about it, but also because later on we would get one hell of a twist. The artist being accused would end up posting a very convincing looking time lapse that proves their innocence. And as many people
That was the part that confused me, so I'm curious to see how he's gonna break it down. Mujin is really, really good at explaining stuff in his video. Like, he makes me understand everything so well.
We're starting to think that the person who wrote the document only did so out of jealousy. A day later, this same time lapse would get community noted. This really isn't your typical artist drama, okay? There's a lot of ups and downs here. It's one hell of a... You're gonna need it. Let's do this. All right, so first things first, for you to really understand the gravity of the situation, we need to talk about what VGen is. It's a platform that was made by artists for artists. It has become very popular over the last few years, and it essentially allows you to have some sort of an open marketplace for artists. It initially started out as very popular within the VTuber community for models and whatnot, but now has everything from music to writing to physical goods. The advantage it gives to a client is the fact that they can come here and commission someone they know is verified by the website, someone legitimate. For the artists, on the other hand, this gives them way more protections than a website like PayPal does, while also giving them a very handy dashboard to keep track of multiple commissions. One of the things that make it appealing to commission someone on this website is the fact that it's a closed community. Not anyone can just create an account and make themselves an artist. No, they have to have an invite code. There are 6 different ways to get a code, and none of them are easy. Additionally, even after you get a code, you only get verified on the platform after completing a very specific set of criteria. You have to have 10 followers, make $100 in the last 30 days, get 3 reviews from different clients, and the review rating has to be above 4.6 out of 5. Once that happens, your profile gets reviewed by an actual human being, which means if you have the verified badge, VGen personally took the time to review your profile. One of the things human reviewers look for is the fact that you're actually drawing your own art. You're not using AI. And that's to be expected. One of the first things you see when you go to VGen's website is the sentence, "All human artists welcome." That's because VGen's stance on AI is pretty much what every artist's stance is. They'll only accept it if it's 100% opt-in, which means they can give their consent for their art to be used to train models, all while giving credit to people contributing to AI models and giving them royalties because it's their art and they deserve to get paid for it. AI currently doesn't do any of these things. They just took art without anyone's consent and used it for their models without crediting anyone or giving them any compensation. And while this all sounds wonderful on paper, even having a human reviewing your profile for AI, reality is kind of a different story.
I do wish they would give royalties and make it opt-in so, you know, artists could actually make money off of it, but they're not going to do it retroactively now. They're never going to do that, and it's kind of sad. Have we had any progress on the lawsuits and stuff, or is it just all suspended? I feel like there was like lawsuits against some Marvel artists like back when AI started. I didn't really keep up with that.
There have been many AI tracers that have made it through the cracks of VGen's verification team, and one of those people is none other than AsamiArts. They joined Twitter in August 2024, and their whole point...
I mean, I feel like if you see an account with almost 100k followers, you associate that with legitimacy.
...has been to present art.
There's one against Nvidia right now.
Form.
Why?
See, the whole point here is that Asami is the owner of this profile and is posting suggestive arts of herself. Most of these pictures will also have captions, and those too will be suggestive. Asami was able to garner one hell of a community fairly quickly with a very high engagement rate. For example, this post with the caption, "Do you think it suits her?" in which we can see the character Asami wearing some fairly revealing clothing, has hundreds of thousands of views and over 26,000 likes. This essentially is any artist's dream, right? To post something like this on their profile and receive this much engagement. And yet here was Asami posting art almost daily, always getting a whole lot of engagement. And so they wasted no time whatsoever opening up commissions and charging $120 for half body and up to $150 for full body. Opening up a VGen and getting a verified badge. But that's not all. Asami would also have a fan box in which they posted some...
for an artwork.
I mean, at this point, it wasn't suggestive anymore. It was just straight up NSFW drawings. The lowest tier to access these NSFW drawings was around $4 a month, with the highest one being $13 a month. Judging by the likes and comments, they made a pretty penny. I mean, of course they did. They had found the most profitable way to make money on the internet, being parasocial. Look at this comment on the teaser they posted of the 18+ drawing. "I don't like this one.
What?
I don't like other people touching her." To which Asami replied with, "Ah, sorry, I actually meant to draw this as you. No one touches her, jealous boy. Don't worry." That person would then reply with, "Okay, then it's fine." How did we get here? In any case, this all leads us to Teru.
I gotta start doing that.
an actual artist that doesn't use AI that noticed Asami on their feed. You see, for the average person,
I need to add an entry in my evil journal of misery and despair for today.
Asami's drawings looked legitimate. There was nothing fishy about them. But for an experienced artist, someone who actually draws almost every day and knows what it takes to make something, Asami was definitely getting very fishy. Thing is though, there's a lot of fishy artists out there. For Teru though, the reason why they didn't just block Asami and move on is because they noticed they were charging a minimum of $120 for just a simple sketch commission. This would lead Teru quote tweeting one of the time lapses that Asami had posted to prove they weren't using AI, all while saying, "Love it when people who trace AI post time lapses to prove that they are definitely not tracing, but then it looks exactly like someone who is tracing," skull emoji. This was back in October 8th, 2025. On November 25,
Mythic posted about me?
Teru would
No, I
quote
didn't
tweet what
know.
we just saw, where they were calling out AsamiArts, and say, "Since it's been over a month and VGen did nothing about any of the multiple AI accounts I reported, I really have no choice but to warn people on Twitter instead. I'm not sure what other evidence they want you
Only
to submit to
Klops,
take
you
action
mean.
on AI tracers in their platform. Is it okay just because it's not fully AI but just traced over AI? Because in one case, it was traced not from AI, but another artist, as I recognized the artwork it was traced from immediately. Or was
Oh.
it because the art they traced was not a commission delivered through VGen? So Teru was obviously perplexed here. How is it that VGen is anti-AI while their reports against people who actually are
Yeah, VGen, they seem to have a really small team.
using AI are doing
You
nothing?
guys are so
And
great
it's not
today.
Like Teru was someone random. Back in August 20th, 2025, they had posted a Google Doc about the artist Misui, who also had another account by the name of Foam. They had very viral art and were growing at a ridiculous pace. But this document had essentially killed any shred of reputation they might have built overnight, providing an incredible amount of proof while also giving perspective from someone who's been drawing for 14 years. Not even 24 hours later, Misui would delete their entire profile off Twitter. Their other account has not posted since June of 2025. So seeing that VGen was not replying, was not doing anything about people who are so obviously tracing and copying other people's work, Teru would do it again. And on December 1st, 2025, they would post, "AsamiArts is tracing AI." This is an account with nearly 100,000 followers who has been taking dozens of commissions through VGen. Here is the evidence, linking a Google Doc. This post has over 5 million views. It would somehow get ratioed by a quote tweet that does nothing but praise it for its incredible formatting. Guys, I'm telling you, this is a very big day if you're a Google Docu reader, okay? There are highlights, links, arrows, GIFs
Yeah,
that
it was
autoplay.
huge.
Dude, sometimes there's going to be a bunch of
Like, she must have spent so long on that. I feel almost bad for her.
pictures everywhere, right? Text next to it or on the bottom or whatever. It would show you an arrow pointing to what they're referring to, either to the left or to the right or to the top. I could shed a tear. They even have art chronologically showing the progress. Oh my god. Not to mention the incredible table of contents on the left. Okay, fine. I'm done creaming my pants. Let's get into this. This document is 41 pages, but don't let that number scare you. Every page in this document is there for a reason. There's no wasted time. There's no filler. Additionally, a huge chunk of these pages is there to show you proof, images. It's not 41 pages of just straight yapping. And finally, it is painfully detailed. This document is a work of art, and I don't say this lightly. The first page
He's
starts
so
off
passionate about it.
listing everything that Teru is accusing Asami of doing. Teru starts off by saying, "There's a big issue at the moment with artists tracing over AI while charging hundreds of dollars for commissions in platforms like VGen. This doc is regarding AsamiArts, formerly known as Drawing Asami, and it's meant to inform commissioners about ongoing tracer issues. I don't like making docs like this, I don't like accusing people of AI, and I hate scrutinizing others' art or questioning their skill. But at the moment, AsamiArts is taking $120 commissions through VGen while blocking anyone who questions if they use AI. I understand it's very frustrating to have people constantly doubting your artistic skill, especially when it leads to unnecessary insults or harassment. In this document, I will show you why I believe the odds of AsamiArts tracing over AI are extremely high. Generally, there is always a pattern when people do this. The behavior these tracers exhibit always ends up being very similar. They then go ahead and list some AI account red flags. The first one being, the Twitter/X art account is very new. Most joined after 2021, and there are no other socials associated with that username or similar. This is not the case with AsamiArts, as AsamiArts joined August 2024, but they had a previous account with the username Drawing Asami that joined in 2022, but that was suspended. The second point is, art is constantly deleted when someone points out there are AI elements, or comments mentioning AI are ignored and hidden. The third point, there are multiple sudden changes in art style in a short amount of time. Please note, it is completely normal for artists to study, experiment, and to draw in different styles, but in cases like this, it's kind of drastic and there's no prior practicing leading to the change. One day there's a drastic shift and they have a different style from an existing artist. The fourth point, in AsamiArts' case, it combines both the previous points. A lot of their previous art has been deleted because they suddenly switched art styles from popular Japanese artists who have AI models trained with their art without their consent. I will elaborate more on this later. Their current Twitter media tab is all art that resembles famous Japanese artist Ixi. They have deleted all the art that resembled another artist by the name of Hote. The fifth point, sudden jump in art skill. For example, an amateur digital artist suddenly mastering anatomy and color theory within a few months. You can't observe this simply by looking at Asami-chan's media tab because they have deleted most of their old art from Twitter and Pixiv. I will be showing you their previous art before their current Ixi style. I have to mention, in a lot of these cases, the person tracing will still struggle with line art because you can trace the anatomy and copy the colors and shading of an AI picture, but the AI will not magically improve your lack of experience doing line work. Unfortunately, this point doesn't apply when the image is being traced by a veteran artist because professionals will have good line work control already. And the final point, refusing to provide proof, deflecting, ignoring people. Once it becomes too overwhelming, tracers provide a small amount of evidence that ends up raising more questions. And most of the time they also delete that evidence. Proving that you aren't tracing is really simple if you are not
She's like the AI artist whisperer.
Tracing AI. This person was invited to draw together in a browser-based Canvas website, but their response was that they don't have to prove themselves to anyone or convince anyone. The website in question being magma.com, a site similar to iScribble or Drawpile but online. This is a simple, free way to show people you are not tracing. So this was the intro, and it was showing you a general sense of what happens when you find a tracing account. The next section in this document is called Time-Lapse Inconsistencies. The time-lapses below are from Clip Studio Paint. It allows you to export time-lapses in 15, 30, and 60-second lengths, and a full length. I converted the original MP4 files that were posted on Twitter to GIF format so you can view it here. The time-lapses that AsamiArts posted were 30 seconds long, and the GIF version is also 30 seconds long. Teru would then say, in red highlighted text, the line art magically being drawn with no sketch in the background. And in these two different time lapses, we can see exactly that. This line art just appears. There's no sketching process. There's no erasing process. A lot of the top artists sometimes will have to rescale certain things, change the perspective on certain.
Yeah, and they flip a lot. They zoom in, they zoom out. Like we've seen a bunch of line arts. They go all around the canvas.
Things here, you see none of that. Terry then continues. This is how Clip Studio Paint time lapses work. You have to manually press the record time-lapse button. Then the program will begin recording all the strokes and undos you make in every layer. Sometimes, artists forget to press the record button so the time-lapse won't show them working on the sketch, but it will still show the sketch at a low opacity when they are lining. This means that Asami is lining without a sketch to guide her, without corrections, perfectly placing every line with no hesitation. Note how she doesn't even bother drawing Callie's whole face first, then erasing the chin area that will be covered. This is of course referring to the right time-lapse.
I remember
Normally,
that.
An artist would draw the entire chin area of the face and then erase it when,
Yeah, it just magically appears. That is true. They would draw this, they would draw the, they'd do the round, they'd put the center, they'd place the eyes, and then they would draw the boobs on top, and then they'd erase the chin.
The boobs come in. But in this case, before even drawing the boobs, Asami somehow knew the exact place they would take in order to not draw the chin there, as if they had already known exactly to the most minute detail how the drawing was going to look like before they even started drawing. Tara would then continue, you should know that Clip Studio allows you to make a private line work layer that will not be shown in the time-lapse. I have included the source links and original upload timestamps for Asami's time-lapses, but as of October 9th, both time-lapses were deleted from her account. Below, I will show some time-lapse GIFs from AI tracers and a Twitter user who traced an AI image to prove that it's possible to fake a time-lapse in Clip Studio Paint. These time-lapses are very similar to Asami's, where there are no adjustments and the line work is drawn perfectly. So this time-lapse right here on the left was posted by a Twitter user to show that you can trace over AI with Clip Studio Paint and it won't show in the recording. Here we can see another tracer doing the same exact thing, and on the right we can see the other person that Teru had written a Google Doc about, Misui, doing exactly that as well. Now look, I'm not expecting everyone watching here to be an artist, or much less know how a time-lapse is supposed to look like. So here's a very quick example of an artist I really like on Twitter. Their name is Dino, and here's the final completed artwork that they worked on, and here's the time-lapse. As you can see, there's a lot of changes that happen even in the sketching process. A lot of scaling, moving things around. Nothing is ever certain when you're drawing. And even in a sped-up time-lapse, it still appears to be slow sometimes. That's because adjustments are constantly being made. That's the whole point of drawing. So when an experienced artist all of a sudden sees someone come out of nowhere on Twitter, garner a huge following, make a drawing every single day, and their time-lapse looks like this, of course it'll raise suspicion. Terry would then continue, saying on October 7th, 2025, when I quote tweeted Callie's time-lapse commenting about it being traced from AI, AsamiArts immediately blocked me. On October 8th, she posted a new time-lapse, then deleted the 2 old time-lapses on October 9th. Both deleted time-lapses had been in her media tab since April 2025. What did AsamiArts have to say about this? She was contacted via VGen regarding proof of her art not being traced over AI during October 8th. When questioned about how she managed to do the line art without a sketch, this was her reply. She'd say, practicing with beautiful lines after without sketches and thick outlines would make you proud to do it yourself, but people tend to misunderstand. I posted a new video, I hope it answers your questions. Tara would continue, saying this is the direct reply to the purple message above. I thought for a second that maybe English wasn't her native language and that's why she typed it that way, but the other messages are not written in the same vague style. It's basically a non-answer. As she mentioned in her first message, she posted a new time-lapse during October 8th. And oh my god, there's an arrow pointing to the right, and on the right, you can see the tweet they're referring to. It doesn't take half a page. Oh my god! There's even a link to the original tweet as well. And again, it's a 30-second time lapse, and you can even see
and all the sources are there. It's so well organized, but like she must have spent months on it. Months.
Of whoever Asami is on top of the tablet that they're using to draw. Tara would say, before I elaborate on this third time lapse, let me finish this exchange that happened on VGen. So after Asami's very weird worded reply, the person who was asking her about those perfect lines would say, just to be clear, let me know if I understood properly. The Clip Studio time lapse without a sketch is because you have 8 years of experience? So being able to line art without a sketch, a professional skill you developed? Amazing. Asami would reply with, yes, that's right. Actually, I erase and redo my drawings many times, but Clip Studio only records the video from where you last left off to speed up the drawing process. Many artists do that. And as I said, my computer is problematic, and I don't even know how to access the old PSDs and drawings. Unfortunately, I lost my drawings from 2017 onwards. As you can imagine, a lot of time has passed. And now Teru continues with a left arrow pointing to what we just saw. Oh my god! Saying, Asami is claiming here that she erases and redoes her drawings many times, but Clip Studio only records the video from where you last left off to speed up the drawing process. This is not true. Highlighting this sentence in red.
Did she mean that like whenever you erase, that's when it starts recording? No, you probably just press record and that's it, no?
After you press the record time-lapse button, the only thing you can do is either export it or press the record time-lapse button again to stop recording. And Clip Studio Paint will show you this warning if you try to do that. The warning would say, this will turn off canvas time-lapse drawing. Any time-lapse recorded for this canvas will be deleted. This action cannot be undone. Terry would continue saying, now let me elaborate on the third time-lapse she has posted on her Twitter. This is no longer a Clip Studio time-lapse, this is a Procreate time-lapse. Procreate is a popular iPad drawing app which includes a time-lapse export feature just like Clip Studio Paint. However, Procreate is known for having a feature where you can easily hide entire layers from showing in your time-lapse. With Clip Studio Paint, you can only hide line arts or binary images. Sadly, because of that, I do not consider a Procreate time-lapse to be solid evidence in a case like this. Terry would then link a tutorial on how to hide your reference layer in Procreate, further showing why they don't trust this, while also saying, I'm sorry, but I cannot take this as proof that Asami isn't tracing because it was recorded in Procreate. She also provided a photo of the layers, but you can delete the traced image layer after you are done tracing. And again, a day after posting this time-lapse on Twitter, she deleted the 2 previous ones. I don't want to be nitpicky, but even in this new Procreate time-lapse, she never goes back to erase, adjust, or correct anything while sketching, lining, or shading. I believe showing layers is only solid proof for an artwork that seems to be generated with AI, but it's different when it's someone tracing over AI. Clearly, if the image was generated with AI, then the artist won't have layers to show, or they will claim that they drew everything in one layer. But I believe Asami is tracing, not posting generative AI. However, there are some previous artworks I believe were generated with AI and not traced. So, what would someone do in a situation like this, where the time lapses are weird and you are still being accused of tracing AI? How do you prove your art is legit? On October 10th, 2025, it was forwarded that I'd be willing to draw with Asami on magma.com in real time. Magma, previously known as Aggie, is basically a browser-based drawing app. It functions exactly like any other art program. If she isn't tracing, then she would have no problem drawing with another artist at the same time. Her reply to the purple message to the right is below. So on the right, we can see a message being sent to Asami saying, would you be okay drawing on a shared canvas at the same time with another artist using an online canvas website like magma.com? I believe this should clear up some of the people's concerns because you will be drawing along with someone else. The website works perfectly on an iPad and you can set the time and date. Asami would then reply with, I don't need to keep proving myself over and over again because of what people say about me. I won't take part in the witch hunts or hate culture that start when people put themselves above others. The internet is a free place, you're free to believe whatever you want. If my previous time lapses didn't convince you, nothing I do now will. And honestly, I don't have to convince anyone. Throwing accusations online and demanding proof is just ridiculous. He'd probably say, see? No reply, must be AI, if I didn't respond. And if I blocked you, you'd say the same. But no one owes people like that any explanation. You don't have to commission me or follow me. Ending this with a prayer emoji. Teru would then say, you might not owe me anything, but you do owe your current clients the right to know what they are truly paying for. No one has to commission you, but the people who are commissioning you are doing it because they expect to receive an illustration that was drawn by you with your own skills and not something you generated and traced over. Just like last time, this isn't even specifically about AI art. Tracing and plagiarizing has always been a thing in the art community. AI has just made this issue way more common because it's easy to just generate an image and delete it once you're done tracing it. Then the evidence is gone forever. But in the old-fashioned way, if you are tracing an existing artwork from another artist, the original source can be found online eventually. One day before I saw Asami's reply, someone I know reached out to another artist because they seem to be tracing over AI as well. It's best to clear up misunderstandings about AI in private, but this was the reply that the person I know received, which reads very similarly to Asami's. It also mentioned drawing in Magma. That other AI tracer would say, with all due respect, I've shared my PSD and I've also explained my workflow in good faith. After sharing the same file with other artist friends, they've all agreed in unison that it's more than enough proof to demonstrate that my work is my own for someone who's acting in good faith. At this point, I feel like you've already elaborated your own opinion on me and that nothing that I might do or say will change it. And that's okay. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion and I do not think less of you just because of what you think of me. But you have to understand that I really don't feel comfortable continuing this conversation anymore or doing a live drawing session with you. I really wish you the best, but I would like to step away from this conversation now. I don't expect you to agree with me, but I will block you now, and I will also block you from my Discord server. Please don't contact me again. Alright, so as you can see here, this reply is very similar to Asami's reply, even though they're a completely different person. Teru would then continue in the document saying, for the record, I also believe that person is most likely tracing, but unlike Asami, they are not taking commissions, and this doc isn't about them. However, the similarities are there, and I found the timing to be astonishing. Most of the time, AI tracers will immediately deflect or become hostile when people start pointing out the issues and inconsistencies with their art. The screenshot on the right is from foam/misui, replying to someone on Twitter DMs after people questioned if they were using AI. Here we can see a reply that's definitely more hostile and aggressive compared to what Asami had replied with. Instead of saying, hey, I can't make you understand, so I'll just say goodbye.
The DoorDash driver was yelling, I got scared.
So what? Yes, I'm uploading detailed art daily, so what? That was the tone that was given here. This leads us to the next section in the document, titled Refusing to Provide Evidence When Questioned. Asami's current media tab is missing a lot of her art since the posts have been deleted. Most of the time because people pointed out AI inconsistencies. Her previous account, Drawing Asami, was suspended. I don't know the reason for the suspension, but even back then in 2024, people were suspicious of her using AI. So here we can see 4 different images. 3 of them are replies that were left on an art piece that Asami had posted on her previous account before being suspended, where they all are kind of doubting the fact that this is real, this is definitely AI. And the 4th image is the drawing itself. I don't know how the hell Teru managed to find it, but here it is. I guess it was because it was also uploaded on Danburu and wasn't deleted from there. Teru would then say, the comments on the left are talking about this artwork Asami had posted in her previous account on May 2024. Notice how different the art style is compared to her current style. I will talk more about that later. I was not able to recover any of her replies as the account was suspended. This leads us to the next section, titled AI
It is
Errors
very
in the
different.
Art.
Oh no,
I try
not
to be nitpicky about
this is the biggest red flag of the entire doc. I'm sorry. This is what sold me on this.
errors in art because human errors are a thing too, and I have seen people accuse others of AI because of mistakes in their art that can be attributed to human error. It only becomes so evident when these mistakes happen on almost every single image, to the point that all of them have at least one issue. In fact, there's so many things to point out on every artwork that it would take too many pages, so I will point out the most blatant ones only. The first one is gun muzzle placement. The drawing itself would be of someone pointing a gun at a cat girl that seems to be really into it. I mean, she's licking the gun for some reason. The gun itself, though, would look pretty weird. When people pointed that out, Asami's reply would be, I'm still not good at drawing weapons. So sorry if there are any weird parts. I looked at the reference and tried drawing something like it. Teru would say, I'm not an expert at drawing guns, so when I draw them I use tons of references or 3D models. But it's just humanly not possible to make a mistake like this if you even bother to look up a single handgun on Google Images. I don't want to ramble about this, but
that's why I'm too scared to lie or do something wrong. What if someone finds out and destroys me? People will accuse you of lying or doing something wrong even if you do nothing wrong, so you might as well go for it, guys. Just live your life.
Simply can't imagine looking up references for a gun and then placing the muzzle on the rear of the gun, while also ignoring the lack of proper finger placement. There are thousands of images and 3D models of handguns online. If you Google handgun references, you will draw an existing gun like an M1911 or a Glock. You can skip this page. I just want to emphasize how ridiculous this error is. This is what I mean when I say AI users do not care about details or are unaware of their mistakes. You really saw the muzzle in the back and didn't think for a second that this guy's gonna shoot himself? I mean, it's true. On the drawing itself, you can see that the muzzle is at the back of the gun. If you don't know what a muzzle is, it's where the gun shoots.
That's so funny.
It's where the bullet ejects from. By the way, I'm not even an illustrator, right? But if you gave me this drawing, I can fix this in less than 5 seconds. The point that Teru was trying to make is that when someone uses AI, let's say for tracing or just posting the actual AI drawing in its entirety, they don't care about details because they're not artists to begin with. This subsection on the gun would end with Teru saying, "I'm not a gun expert, but if such a handgun with a hole in the back exists and it was used as a reference, let me know. I'm not even being sarcastic. I know of a handgun that has a round indent in the back, but I will refrain from sharing the name here in case Asami reads all of this and tries to pretend that was the gun she referenced from. But it's a bit unbelievable she didn't use a more widely available reference when the most common handguns look like this," showing an example of the back of 3 guns. The next subsection here would be titled Hair and Clothing Errors. This subsection would be very picture heavy, but the whole point of it is to show us inconsistencies on the drawings that an artist wouldn't normally make. For example, here we have an image of a fox girl, I guess, with her chest out. Teru would argue the top part of the sweater doesn't connect to anything, and there's a random string connected to the underwear.
I thought that was Aurora. Yeah, all this stuff didn't make sense. The suspenders here. We looked at all of this.
But you could say it's just a fashion design element. In the next drawing, Teru would argue there are hair pieces that are not connected to the main hair. Bear in mind, these 2 drawings have been deleted. They're from Asami's old art. Here's another image, and Teru says, "There are so many things that are wrong with this picture that it leads me to believe that it was generated instead of traced. The hair is so disconnected and just lacks coherence everywhere. However, it is too JPEG artifacted for me to be able to tell if it was generated or not." And Teru would take the time to link a definition as to what that means. In a nutshell, it's compression, right? You know when you upload a video on like Twitter or something and it's like very pixelated? That's because they don't want to use up too much of their server space. They compress your video to a lower quality and upload it on their website, which makes it look worse. This image was so compressed that Teru couldn't dive as deep as they wanted to. They would then show us 3 different other drawings saying you will notice a lot of these issues will be hair errors. When the person who's
I guess the easy way to farm clout if you're an artist like is to draw, well, in her case it's AI generated, but I mean in general is to draw like famous VTubers or famous gacha characters.
Has no idea how hair strands work and is tracing over random AI hair chunks. This is what happens. In parentheses, looping or disjointed hair strands. And that's exactly what we can see here. Here's an example of a looping hair strand. It starts at the root of your head, goes down to your shoulders, and somehow goes back up to loop back to your root. That's not how hair works.
Yeah.
There are so many examples showing these same inconsistencies. For example, here's a character that's meant to have 1 tail, but it's kind of showing 2 because it was drawn badly. And we have another drawing here that Teru suspects is completely AI generated, not even traced. The shadows don't match the shadow source or have different hues. Hair chunks are not coherent. The ribbon of the character has 3 bows, when instead it should be 2. This is important because when you're an artist, you spend much time drawing an illustration of this caliber. You stare at it all day, you become attached to it, and there's no way you'd publish a drawing that has such flagrant errors. The only way you do that is if you don't even look at it for more than 10 minutes. The only way you do that is if you generated it and have no sort of attachment to it and don't really care how it actually looks. That's an AI artist's biggest weakness. This leads us to the next major section, titled AI Users Ignore Critical Character Design Elements. The first subsection would be titled Raora Art Major Design Inconsistencies. This is in regards to the character Raora. Teru would say, "What I have noticed when people are tracing is that most fan art they post has the character wearing simple casual clothes like gym clothes, plain dresses, swimsuits, etc. But when they post fan art where the character is wearing their official base outfits..."
This is crazy how good it looks. Like, if we didn't look at it closely, we wouldn't even know it's AI. It's nuts.
Design elements are wrong or do not match the official references. I find it very hard to believe these are human errors. For example, only using a low quality reference or having to interpret details yourself because the character you are drawing doesn't have a reference sheet available. Raora, though, has a very detailed reference sheet available online and plenty of fan art with the correct accessory shapes. There are also AI elements across the image. Again, we're shown line art inconsistencies, hair inconsistencies, all sorts of things. The next subsection would be about Kanata, more design inconsistencies. One could argue about the artistic liberties an artist can take while drawing an official outfit. For example, and if you are familiar, Tohu project characters. Maybe the switch from pantyhose to thighs was because the artist specifically wanted to show the underwear. However, there are too many elements that are also missing. And here we can see a comparison. On the left, Asami's drawing, on the right, the official drawing. One of the most obvious inconsistencies is that on Asami's drawing, Kanata has 3 stars on her dress. Additionally, it's a star with 5 points. On the right though, there are only 2 stars on the outfit, and they're shaped like a cross. It simply doesn't make sense if you're an artist that can draw like at this level that you would somehow take this decision. It doesn't make any
No, it's true. It's true.
sense for you to do that. The next subsection is titled Sakuna Art, Design Inconsistencies. In Sakuna's case, the side bangs are a completely different shape, which is something AI tracers tend to ignore sometimes. I was not able to find a reference of her Live 2D model, only an official render, but you can see her model in her YouTube channel. Teru does note, however, artists might still interpret hairstyles in their own unique way to suit their style, and it's not always indicative of AI tracing. Still though, we can see some major differences between the hairstyle. In the document, Teru would then say, the next example about a character not matching their official design will lead into my next point of AI that is trained with popular artists' works, emulating their style very accurately. In order to present that, I will quickly explain some info regarding AI models. Have you noticed how during 2022, AI struggled to figure out character outfits and blended them together, but recently they are able to match character designs more accurately? This is all thanks to LoRAs. Teru would of course link a screenshot on the left of the definition of what a LoRA is, and it would say, low-rank adaptation, otherwise known as LoRA, is a technique used to adapt machine learning models to new contexts. It can adapt large models to specific uses by adding lightweight pieces to the original model rather than changing the entire model. A data scientist can quickly expand the ways that a model can be used rather than requiring them to build an entirely new model. Teru would then say, basically, the LoRA is a smaller model that is trained with very specific data that helps fine-tune details in other larger models. This isn't just done for character costumes only, but also things like hands, poses, and most importantly, in this case, specific art styles. You see where we're going with this?
Wait, so is a LoRA just generative AI art? I feel like the description made me more confused.
Is that big AI companies already stole the art of so many different artists to make their AI models on art, but now allow just about anyone to find any artist they like, take all their art, and make an entire model that emulates their style that they spent countless years perfecting.
That is crazy. LoRA is part of generative AI. It's an AI learning style. They make the AI more specific. That is sad. You should be allowed to opt out of this as an artist. Like, I think I'm pretty open-minded. I'm not like super about AI. I think some of the tools are okay, but there's some stuff like this. Imagine you're an artist, you spent your entire career, well, your entire life developing your style, and then you have somebody yank your entire database. The only way it would be to remove all your art from the internet. LoRAs are basically a style made based on images that are fed to it. It can replicate styles of whatever it's assigned to. I don't know how do you stop people from just taking your work and throw it in. Maybe there's gonna be some kind of like metadata in the images in the future.
It's bad. This leads us to the final subsection in this section, titled Saba Pre-Debut Artwork Design Inconsistencies. On June 28, 2025, the VTuber Sameko Saba debuted. Let's just say, Saba's debut was highly anticipated by a lot of people, and tons of artists were eager to see her design and draw fan art of her. A few days before her debut, Saba started posting some teasers that showed some parts of her design, so fans were uploading their own design predictions and started working on fan art before the debut date.
Wait. Why is NVIDIA an AI company now? They used to be just a computer company.
The earliest AI LoRAs I can find of Saba were uploaded June 24th, 2025, trained with the artworks that were guessing what she would look like. Because of this, the design that was generated by AI with these LoRAs was inaccurate. The June 24th, 2025 upload times for the LoRA model shown on the right are 5:50 p.m. EST and 6:40 p.m. EST. On June 25th, 2025, AsamiArts posted a Saba fan art. Keep in mind, at this point, there were only teasers for Saba's design.
Yeah, but they're selling the GPUs. That doesn't mean that they can be lawsuited for AI. Like, they're just selling the pieces to make the computers. How other people use the computer is not their responsibility. They create artificial demand for their overpriced product. Well, they should be sued for that then. NVIDIA is manufacturing chipsets specifically adapted to be used with AI. Okay. We're getting more precise answers now. It makes more sense.
Everyone was guessing and coming up with their own predictions, so it would not be possible for any fan art to fully match the official design that would be revealed on June 28th. So here we can see the two different Lauras. They were made using references of what other artists thought the full model looked like. This is why every drawing it would generate would look fairly different in terms of how her hair looked like, for example. Everyone was guessing differently. Terry would then continue, "The reason I suspect this artwork is traced from AI is not necessarily because the design does not match Saba. As I have pointed out, her full design was not revealed by the time AsamiArts posted this. Rather, I find it hard to believe that this was their own design prediction by June 25th when the following teaser had been posted by Saba during June 15th. On June 22nd, Saba uploaded a final teaser that showed the back of her head and part of her side profile, along with a silhouette of her body. In this silhouette, her tail shape is very clear too. You can also see she has no blue highlights on her side bangs. There's a very small probability that they missed these two videos, but I find it hard to believe because the new fan arts being uploaded had the correct tail shape drawn too. More importantly, and going back to the Lauras, the tail shape is clearly taken from another VTuber, and one of the Laura uploaders admits as much. We can see that in the Laura description. So I'm sure you can see where this is going, right? Even though this new tail was revealed 3 days prior to AsamiArts posting her fan art, the tail was completely wrong and was matching 1-to-1 the tail of the VTuber that the Laura uploader used as reference. Terry would continue, on June 25th, Saba finally debuted and made her reference sheet available. After new fan art started being drawn and uploaded, AI users immediately began scraping them to make Laura's with her proper official design. The earliest models that I can find were uploaded on June 28th. On June 30th, Asami uploaded the following artwork. Going back to AI users ignoring design elements, and despite the new updated Laura for the outfit, once more there are a few things missing or incorrect in the artwork above, such as the tail position and length. The dress does not have the hole in the back for the tail, it's meant to be placed underneath it. And back to Laura's again, do know that multiple Lauras can be used together. That means you can generate an image with the Saba outfit Laura plus Ixie style Laura together. Who is Ixie? An artist whose illustrations have been used without permission to train multiple AI Lauras in the style Asami has been using recently. However, Asami has used multiple styles in the past, all specifically from Japanese artists who also just happen to have Lauras trained without.
I mean, I'm sure like for coders and stuff, they love, AI, this helped them. I'm sure in many fields it's helped. We're just seeing all the downsides of it. The downsides are pretty bleak. It's blackmailing to think about it. I know I've said it 3 times, but it's starting to be a little bit depressing. Like, it's kind of scary.
Permission. This will be the focus of my next point. So as you can see, this isn't just about spun tracing. This is about people paying money to commission someone for art that they're not drawing themselves, while also stealing art from other people without their permission. This goes deep, and it leads us to the next major section in this document titled Art Style Changes Are...
I think for the medical field is pretty cool. Well, in the medical field, you're saving lives, so you'll take any tools you can get, right? Whether it's gray line ethical, as long as it's not out loud, if the end result is ethical, then it kind of justifies the means because the end is good. The other stuff, well, it's not primordial. It's not for survival. So it's more debatable. But can you guys imagine that, like, some of us here are getting pretty far into our hag lives, and we have this huge digital imprint on the internet. We already know that all our data is being sold. AI machines are scrapping our data. They're all going to learn to talk like us, tweet like us, behave like us. We already have like a bots problem on Twitter. These bots are like running and winning elections for us. Like, the powers at plays are kind of scary. And none of us here are the ones holding the reins of this. We're all just being farmed like we're in the fucking Matrix, being used to make electricity.
Sudden old art.
AI is gonna go harder than us. Incredible.
AsamiArts has changed styles many times and wiped her galleries, both Pixiv and Twitter, on multiple occasions to hide this. We took a screenshot of her Pixiv page on October 7th, and while I was typing this during October 11th, I went to check her Pixiv and most of the arts were gone again. So here we can see how it looks like in October 6th. There's 15 different drawings, and then just a few days later, on October 11th, there was only 3 left. Terry would then continue, on a personal note, I don't find artists deleting art that suspicious unless there are other issues, as someone who used to delete art quite often. I would not be satisfied with the final image after posting it, or deleted old art so only recent artworks would be displayed in my media tab. Now, thanks to AI, artists are forced to keep old art in their media tab as proof of improvement over time in case they get accused of AI. The concern begins when the art or evidence such as time lapses are deleted only shortly after comments start pointing out AI elements. Disclaimer, it's completely okay for artists to experiment with different styles, and that itself is not indicative of AI usage. But unless you are a professional, it is not easy to switch or emulate styles so quickly, less than a month, with no in-between practice at all. And in this case, they all happen to be styles from well-known Japanese artists. This brings us to the next subsection, titled, "The current style they're using is based off a Japanese artist, Ixi. Their art has been used without permission to train multiple LoRAs, but once more you can combine multiple LoRAs together, so it could be possible that they are using the Ixi style LoRA with another artist's style." So here we can see a drawing that Ixi had drawn on November 2020. Then we can see an image that was made by the LoRA based upon Ixi, uploaded on April 2024. And finally, we can see the drawing of that same character that AsamiArts had uploaded on July 2024. And yes, you'd be blind to not see the similarities. Terry would say, "In order to respect Ixi, I will not be sharing or linking any other of their artworks going forward. But I was not the first person who noticed Ixi's style resemblance in Asami's artworks during this time period. As mentioned before, she has changed art styles in the past." Here we can see 4 different replies made by people on Asami's art saying, "Hey, this looks exactly like Ixi's art." Some people were surprised, praising Asami's talent, while others were like, "Yeah, this is a trace, thanks." Terry would continue,
Damn,
"Something very important to consider is that the style change needs to happen after an AI model / LoRA is uploaded online. If the LoRA was not available online by the time of the sudden style change, I would not consider it a possibility for the art to be traced from AI. But I'm also aware anyone can train their own models offline and not share them with anyone." In Asami's case, and this is just an estimate based on Dan Buru upload dates, the Ixi style change happened around June 2024. For example, the model to the right was published in August 2024, so I wouldn't consider that it was used at that point in time, perhaps after that date. However, there are Ixi LoRAs dating all the way back to 2023 online, with 2024 to 2025 ones producing more accurate generations. The following screenshot is a LoRA model re-upload from an AI site, but the original upload is no longer available, so there's also the possibility that it was uploaded online much earlier than April 28, 2024. Some of the artworks uploaded more recently resemble post generations using Ixi's LoRA to an extent, but since AI learns from real art, I try not to focus on post similarities unless it's a very close match. And here we can see that. 2 recent drawings uploaded by Asami, with one being as recent as September, share very similar poses to the LoRA itself, with the other one sharing similarities with an account that uses both Ixi and another one's art style combined together. But it doesn't end here, because Ixi is far from being the only victim. The next subsection will be titled, "The art style they used before was based off a Japanese artist, Ogipote. This is the style they used from 2023 to mid-2024. I will point out that Asami is also following both Ixi and Ogipote on Blue Sky and Pixiv, as well as 2 other artists with similar anime Nuri styles. Ogipote has also had to deal with their art being used without permission to train AI models since 2023. On April 30th, 2023, we can see Ogipote
Hi, Refrender, what's up?
making a tweet saying, "Please stop distributing the AI named after me." We can also see a screenshot of who Asami is following on Blue Sky, and it includes these artists. Terry would then link an image that Asami had posted on January 2024 with an illustration that was drawn by Ogipote, and the similarities here are fairly obvious. Terry would then say, "Before May to June 2024, Asami was using Ogipote's style before the switch to Ixi. Unless there are missing images in the multiple Burus I searched, this switch was sudden and drastic. I will stop listing Twitter sources and only use Burus, as all the original posts for these are deleted." And by the way, if you don't know what a Buru is, it's an image board pretty much. So from left to right, we can see drawings here. The first 2 are drawn in May 2024, the third one on June 2024, and the final one on August 2024. On the halfway point of May to June, we can see a drastic change in art style, so much so that you'd think it's 2 different people. Terry would then say, "My reason to believe these might also be traced from AI comes from the fact that there are also multiple AI elements in the backgrounds. In most instances, the background is blurred to hide these artifacts." Terry would highlight these artifacts, and they're very clear. These are truly artifacts. These are things that don't belong in the drawing. These are glitches. And yet, even after blurring the background, they're still very obvious.
Later on, she claims that she's using like Google backgrounds because she's not confident in backgrounds or some shit.
Terry then continues, "I will not be showing every single instance of AI backgrounds since there are dozens of images. You can argue that only the backgrounds are AI generated and the characters are drawn from scratch on top and not traced from AI, but the switch from Ogipote to Ixi style was just as sudden as the jump in skill before Ogipote's style, which is what leads me to believe the characters started being traced at 1.2. Once more, let's look at LoRA upload dates. If there is no AI model that was uploaded online before the art was posted, then the chances that it's traced from AI becomes lower. The earliest Asami artworks in Danboru with Ogipote style date back to at least June 2023. But as previously mentioned, Ogipote tweeted about AI infringement all the way back in April 2023. The earliest model I could find dates back to is in March 2023, and it can generate the background at the same time. I believe Asami started tracing AI around this time period. During my research, I found out that one of my followers had commissioned Asami multiple times back in 2023. I reached out to them and explained the situation, and they provided me with the commissioned images and gave me permission to use them in this document. Out of the 3 commissioned images they shared with me, the one with Ogipote style was dated back to April 12, 2023, which is earlier than the June 2023 Danboru upload date I mentioned above. However, my point still stands as the AI model for Ogipote style was published on March 22, 2023. So here we can see 3 images with different dates. And goddamn does the first one have some big cannons on those chests. That's getting censored. But anyway, even though it's censored, in the first image, I think you can clearly see that this seems way different than the other drawings we saw. This might even be Asami's real style, the one that she uses without AI or tracing or whatever. This was the first commission. However, the other 2 were crazy different. And this is where Teru says, these improvement rates in a single month from beginner artists only became so common after 2022 with the first wave of AI image generation. For non-artist references of what general improvement looks like, see the artist evolution post on
I feel like they all look in the same style. I don't really see it.
Pixiv, 1-year art improvement meme, or 10-year progress summaries. So I went to Pixiv and found this great example. You can truly see how the improvement is gradual. It doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen in a month, it doesn't happen in a year. This is why drawing is so damn hard. It took this artist almost half a decade to see very notable improvements and 1 full decade to truly reach a point in which they can have their own awesome art style. You don't simply go from the left drawing to the right drawing in a month.
It's kind of cool to see the progress.
Just like how you can't just start playing a sport today and go to the Olympics next month. It doesn't happen. This leads us to the next
Oh, the skin shading is completely different, the hair too.
Subsection, which will be titled, There was a small period of time where Uekura Eku style was used. Around May 2024, approximate according to Boru uploads, Asami briefly switched styles from Ogipote to Eku style before switching again to the current Ixi style. Seems that Asami's kind of indecisive, huh? Something I noticed is that while Asami is following both Ixi and Ogipote in Blue Sky, Eku Ukura is blocked. Asami's Blue Sky was created February 7th, 2024, and they were blocked on February 28th, 2024. They would include the source, oh my god, they include the source, Clear Sky. And it's a website where you can see who people are blocking and when they blocked them. And as we can see, yes, this is correct. The document continues, this is strange, as it's not part of a mass block. Blue Sky lets you mass block accounts from lists made by other people. So on the left, we can see this drawing that we saw earlier that Asami had posted on May 2024, and on the right, we can see what Eku's style truly looks like. Again, we can definitely see similarities here. Once more, let's look at Laura uploads online. At first, I could only find one uploaded on February 29th, which is one day after Asami blocked Eku on Blue Sky. In the end, this similar timing was probably a coincidence, and I thought for a second that maybe the block was an accident. However, I find it unlikely as you have to press a menu.
This top model looks like she has like only bits of arms. And even that piece doesn't make sense at all. I think none of the details make sense, actually.
To find the block button and get a warning when you are about to block someone. That said, after a bit more digging, I found a model that was uploaded on October 24th, 2023. There will always be the possibility that these are simply heavily referenced and not generated with AI and then traced, but somehow these exhibit similar AI errors that are still persistent in future artworks. I haven't gotten to
Yeah, I guess they blocked the artist so they can't see that she's ripping them off, yeah.
Art prior to 2023 yet, but I want to share some comparisons of the style change with the same characters across less than a year. So as you can see, all these different drawings by Asami were in 2024. The differences between art styles is astounding.
Oh,
Again,
wow.
You might not be familiar with art, but all you have to do is go to like a famous artist's profile and see their drawings. This doesn't happen. They might change their art style once for like a special drawing, but that's it. You don't drastically go back and forth, back and forth, with different art styles all the time. Like, it's crazy. The final subsection in this major section is titled Incoherent Skill Improvement. As observed, there is a constant and very distinct change in styles, but besides that, improvement completely stalls. So far, I've tried not to nitpick at errors that could be human in nature, but there are some issues that can't be dismissed. There are pieces where the perspective seems flawlessly executed, but then there are artworks with dynamic poses that have anatomy mistakes and proportions are always different between images. If an artist has somehow mastered multiple styles in less than a year, seems to have knowledge of anatomy, to a fluctuating degree, and dynamic poses with over 8 years of experience, you would expect them to know how patterns wrap or bend around clothing and how to execute it in their art program of choice instead of multiplying a font layer and using the free transform tool with no account for the curvature of the body. So as we can see here, the text nurse on this flannel seems like it's floating. It doesn't even look like it's on the clothing. That's of course crazy when the drawing itself looks so good. So look, so far you're probably already convinced, right, that Asami is using AI that they're tracing. There's a small chance you might not be, which is why Teru made an entire dedicated section titled Art Chronologically.
Oh, there we go.
Oh my god, is this not a self-report? Teru is a goddamn detective. I'm telling you,
yeah,
dude, you don't
she's
want to
really
piss them
great.
off. Otherwise, they'll make a document to ruin you. They went as far back to 2021 on different websites such as DeviantArt to find Asami's original art style. This is them drawing without AI, and obviously the difference here is indescribable. We'd also see some art that Asami drew in 2022, and again, huge difference than what would happen 2023 onwards. The massive shift would truly happen on January 2023, where we go from a clear art style that belonged to Asami to extremely professional art that was heavily inspired by other people. At the same time, this is when AI backgrounds start to show up too. Chronologically, it would be in March 2023, as we saw earlier, that Ogipot's style starts showing up. What's interesting here is that the first image provided by Teru, which is from March 11, 2023, is actually from Etsy. Someone purchased a commission from Asami on Etsy, and that person left a review. They say, "This is my second time working with Asami. However, this time I let her control my outfit, but she changed my character entirely, so it doesn't even look like me. I'm a little upset that she wanted to charge me $25 for two things that should have been there in the first place. The sketch didn't look like the final product. It's cute, but I won't be using this art to define me at all. I'm a wolf VTuber, but she drew me as a cat." So see, this is why AI commissions are tricky. You tell them you want one thing, they draw something else, and they can't change it. Why? Because they didn't draw it. We then see the massive switch in art style again from 2024 to 2025.
Okay,
It could literally just be a completely different person.
Oh god,
it
it
would lead us to
could.
the next section titled Deleting Art After Being Contacted. I was going to source the first image to her Pixiv, as I remembered it was still available there, and you can see it in the Pixiv screenshot back here. It's now gone. I believe it was deleted in the past few days. There's only one artwork remaining in her Pixiv now. I checked Twitter instead, and I found out that the remaining posts from early 2025 are all deleted now. Last night / early morning, on November 28th, I had been scrolling through her Twitter for sources, so I believe this mass deletion happened overnight as I typed this, 3 a.m. November 29th. All of the remaining fan art has been deleted, and now the media tab solely has artworks of her original character going back to September 2025. I'm sorry I don't have screenshots of her old media tab to prove this, so you'll have to take my word on this one. The only thing I can provide is the version history for this doc, which proves I did check her Twitter yesterday and the link was still working. Do you know what happened before midnight November 28th? I emailed Asami. So I'm going to assume that this specific deletion spree was not a coincidence. I apologized for the harsh wording of my quote tweet back in October of her Cali timelapse, where I implied it was someone tracing over AI. Even if it looks most likely traced, I shouldn't have replied the way I did. Of course, I was quickly blocked after she saw my QRT, so there was no way to contact her. After apologizing, I briefly explained the increasing amount of artists tracing AI and expressed wanting to solve these matters privately. See, after taking a 2-week break from this doc, I started to wonder if maybe I had just hallucinated everything, and maybe all the theories about Laura's were far-fetched as I have no way to prove she did use those models. Maybe the improvement is suspiciously fast, yet disconnected, but who knows really because it's something that can't be standardized. That's why I decided to email Asami to clear things up. Quite honestly, I do not expect a reply. I asked for PSD files of any of these 4 artworks seen on the right, but I know an artist might be uncomfortable sharing PSDs with strangers, so I mentioned screenshots of the layers were okay, but told them that I know those can be edited. I didn't pick these artworks randomly though. I have a suspicion these are generated, not traced. Yet I can't confidently say they are generated because I have no evident proof and I could be wrong. They might simply look like AI because of the blur filter. Why do I suspect these might be generated? I had mentioned the Asuna issues back here, but I don't point out everything that seemed odd back then. There are some errors where I think the possibility of them being human mistakes are extremely low. But in some cases it's very ambiguous, as there are genuine mistakes in art sometimes because the artist was distracted, too tired, too lazy, or was rushing to finish. Maybe all of them at once. So again, we can see more inconsistencies involved.
I think that she always gives like a benefit of the doubt. She doesn't jump to conclusion, but she just like provides a lot of evidence, and she's like the total picture together, all of these red flags together, you come up to a conclusion that way. But she's never like, oh, they made a mistake here. For sure, it's AI, because she knows that artists, get accused of AI when sometimes they aren't.
Details, shadows, artifacts. I mean, this one.
And yeah, the scary thing is just how much work it takes to dislodge one AI scammer. Yes, it's the same thing with misinformation. It's how much work it takes also to dislodge misinformation that's being spread. It's an uphill battle.
Particular is really interesting. The shadow just stops at a certain point, right? When in reality, the drawing doesn't. It's very weird. At the end of the section, Teru says, I will update the section before publishing if I receive a reply. Update. As of November 30th, I never received a response to my email. The next section is titled, New Artworks Almost Every Single Day.
That's
so I
insane.
started the stock back in October, took a break, then resumed. There were roughly 48 artworks posted of our original character through 57 days from October 3rd to November 28th. A new image posted almost every day. The account's basically all thirst bait art now, but seeing how all of them have like 20 to 60,000 likes and 100 plus comments, I'm sure the premium checkmark is going great for you, Asami. On top of that, there's the VGen commissions that aren't posted on Twitter. There are 12 reviews from October to November, which means the total artworks drawn in 57 days was over 60. Is this art output normal? I would say no, but it's not completely impossible. There are a few things to consider when it comes to art speed, such as canvas size and art style. An illustration with a background will take longer than a flat character on a white background, and a drawing done in an 800 pixel canvas generally will take less time to finish than a drawing that's 6,000 pixels tall. However, after drawing a character so many times, you'd think there would be consistency in their anatomy proportions, especially in two artworks drawn back to back. So here we can see two different drawings of Asami, and the proportions, most notably on the thigh section, is very different. We can also see a calendar with dates of all the drawings that Asami posted from October 3rd to November 28th, and as you can see, it's almost every single day with almost no breaks in between. This leads us to the next section titled AI Users Don't Learn from Mistakes. Going back to the time lapse, now that all these new artworks were posted while I was away, the first thing I noticed across these new images is that she has not bothered to learn how to draw braids despite the character having a braided sweater. So here we can see different drawings posted within the same week, and the braids are completely different in each one, with the most recent one having the worst braids compared to the first one. The most recent one was on October 8th, and Teru says the October 8th image is the one from the time-lapse she had posted before. So we can see the thought process behind the line work for these. The braids weren't part of the sketch, so the line art begins immediately. I slowed down the time-lapse and turned it into 2 GIFs so it's easier to follow. There's only one instance where an area of the braids is redrawn or corrected, but the line art is essentially still the same. There were no adjustments made. So on this GIF, we can see that the only time that a braid was corrected was the bottom. There was only one correction during the entirety of this drawing. Only one. Teru would then say, if you keep tracing AI braids instead of learning how to draw them, you are never going to draw them properly. For those who actually care about learning, there are multiple ways and techniques to draw braids, as there are many knot types. Here's a braid tutorial that I found useful when learning in the past. Teru would then include 7 more drawings that included that sweater. Again, complete inconsistency with the braids, and what's crazy too is that there's a whole inconsistency with the sweater design itself. Even though this was Asami's original character and was meant to look the same with—
Oh, I missed that on the first read. I missed that there was also sweater inconsistencies, and this is her OC in the same sweater.
That sweater. Also, here's a difference between real braids shown in the tutorial and AI generated braids, which look very similar to what Asami had in her art. Teru would then write a sentence with a big font and highlighting the text in red, saying, for all of the reasons I have provided so far in this document, I believe that Asami's skill jump from 2022 to 2025 is not genuine. It's not impossible, just highly unlikely. Please do not use improvement speed as the only reason to suspect someone—
It's amazing how she didn't even try to correct the braids, yeah.
—of using AI. There are real artists who practice and study hard and improve at an impressive speed in only 1 to 2 years. My assumption is that this started sometime during 2023. I don't have to wonder about the reasons or circumstances that would lead someone to build their career out of lies and fraud. It's always money and or popularity. Finally, for this section, Teru would write, request to VGen. To respect commissioners and their original characters, I have avoided using art from Asami's VGen gallery, but I want to talk about VGen for a bit. There are multiple tracers on their platform right now. I understand that as the platform grows, these fraudsters slip through the cracks, but I don't know how the vetting process to join works right now. Last I heard, it was invite codes. I don't have time to make documents like this for every single tracer out there, but I had sent what I believe to be very substantial evidence when I reported some accounts last month. It's been nearly 2 months, reports sent on October 8th, yet action was never taken on the accounts. I never received a response, so I don't even know if the reports went through. I was told they get hundreds of reports, so it will take some time to review them, but in the meantime, these people are still taking commissions from people who don't know better. Please consider separating AI reports from general platform reports if you haven't already, as this is going to keep happening from now on. AI Gen has gotten extremely accurate, yet it's not hard to catch if you ask for a PSD, but tracing AI is a more complex matter to investigate and creates distrust between all artists, especially—
I guess they should have a committee, or they should make the applicants be reviewed by their peers and be accepted by them, and you need a certain amount of votes to go through. Other artists will recognize whether it's genuine or not.
Beginners. And finally, This leads us to the last section of the document titled AI Avatars on Socials. Something I keep noticing is that accounts tracing AI sometimes have AI generated avatars. I'm not sure if Asami generated these, as it's impossible to find a source online. There's also the possibility that the images were saved and used without knowing they were AI. So as you can see, there are multiple images showing the same AI-generated character being used as an avatar on Asami's Etsy back in 2022 and their card website.
Not a guild of artists, but it's just like when you try to sign up to VGen, let's say you're an artist, you'll get a little section with applicants that'll show up from time to time, and you just press like yes, no, whatever. It has to be random, because if they select people, then they can like sort of team up with them.
In the beginning of 2023. Tara would say these are Wayback Machine snapshots. However, the January 2023 avatar is still visible in her abandoned Gumroad page. And that Gumroad page still exists today. I'm surprised it's not deleted. It's right here on the top left. The soulless eye style was fairly common back in 2022 when AI was not as advanced as it is today. Okay, the final page in this document would be Teru reposting Google Docs from previous controversies about tracers. There are multiple, and then would conclude this document by saying, as this becomes so prevalent, I'm afraid that in the future people might wrongfully accuse others, whether in good or bad faith. Please don't resort to hate or threats, even if something might seem very obvious at first glance. Please review these things privately first and ask other artists for a second opinion. The only reliable proof right now is live drawing in the same canvas, like Magma or Drawpile, etc., with screen capture as time lapses and recordings can be forged. So yeah, one hell of a document, am I right? To many, this was all the proof they could have ever asked for. They were convinced they didn't even need to hear Asami's side of the story. And you know who else agreed with this mindset? VGen. Very shortly after Teru's document dropped and caused huge commotion in the art community, VGen would go ahead and finally ban Asami from using
I didn't know that.
their platform. This was a very big deal. It was VGen essentially admitting, yes, you're right, Teru. Asami is indeed breaking one of our most important rules. They're producing non-human AI art. So with the document slowly going viral and the ban taking effect on VGen, what did Asami have to say about it? Well, initially, nothing, which made many people who were outraged with the document go to the most recent post from November 30th, one day before the Google Doc got posted, and they all replied with their grievances, either linking the document itself or just calling out this person for using AI tracing. What happened to those people, you ask? Well, they got blocked and their replies were hidden, but thankfully you can see hidden replies. And there are many, like this one right here with an elephant saying, "Address me." Then, 2 days would pass since the document would come out, and on December 3rd, Asami would post this drawing of their persona, giggling with the caption, "Ah, wonderful, a full comedy show. Ah, sorry, I forgot, you prefer the word drama." This meant to show us that this document that was made was nothing more than petty drama. It doesn't affect anything they've ever made so far. The next day, however, on December 4th, Asami would take on a completely different tone, making a post saying, "This drama isn't about AI or art. It's someone trying to destroy me with lies. Someone who argues with me and acts like a judge, prosecutor, and executioner. What you see in the picture is the way this person attacks me. This is who you're supporting. I don't have to prove myself to anyone, but by supporting people like this, you're choosing what kind of person you are. You're doing a witch hunt."
But I was like, there's no way to know that this is the author of the document. I doubt she would do that even.
I don't really enjoy tanning. While
Somebody else who
did
did this.
1,000 likes, her attacks get thousands of likes. Do you think this is about art? And the picture that Asami is referring to is their inbox on their email, in which we can see that many of the emails were adult websites confirming registration with Asami's email. It's interesting though, because in the post they say, "What you see in the picture is the way this person attacks me." And yet, having read the document myself in this video word for word, I don't think there was ever a time in which Teru encouraged people to use Asami's email to sign up to adult websites. Then, on that same day, we're still December 4th, Asami would make a long post, and with that post would be attached a video of a time-lapse with them drawing their character. Here's what was said. "Long time ago, when I first opened my Etsy, my art really wasn't good. I even used the first cute picture I found online as my profile image. I didn't even know what AI was back then, and if you look at my old Etsy orders, you can clearly see I never delivered anything in that style anyway. I tried so many styles. I spent a long time experimenting, even copying the styles of artists I admired, because I was learning and trying to get my own style. I played with 3D posing tools like everyone else, using MMD to understand poses. I tried backgrounds from places like Pinterest or Google because I wasn't good at them yet, like downloading backgrounds from Pinterest and drawing characters on them myself. Eventually, I realized none of that really felt like me. And yes, I still don't know how to draw guns. I honestly don't care to. I can look up a reference, but to me they all look the same, so I just don't enjoy drawing them.
Stop.
Now I found my own style, something that finally feels like home, and I draw with confidence. Yet some people love acting like judges or lawyers online, looking for someone to tear down for attention. Sometimes it works on others, but I'm still here. And the reason I never talked about any of this before is simple. I needed time to see people's true faces. Some chose to follow the crowd without thinking, and honestly, it cleared my space in the best way. I don't regret anything I've done. My responses were exactly what they needed to be. I'm still here. Before speaking, try thinking for a moment. That goes for everyone. This was Asami defending themselves in the face of these accusations that they call unwarranted. This time-lapse was meant to prove it. Here we can see the sketch and the final line art. We can see them making mistakes. It almost seems like they're actually drawing for real. And I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
right? As someone
when I saw this, I think in Discord I was like, this makes me waver in my opinion. I was like, this looks convincing.
Who doesn't draw for a living or doesn't even draw at all, for a second, they kind of got me. I started believing it. I started thinking, wait, was that document just not real? It wasn't true?
I was like, was I wrong? But then I remembered the gun. And I was like, no, I think we're right. But maybe she got better? I don't know.
Making this video. This time lapse is 7 minutes long, and honestly, it looks pretty damn accurate. And they just drew everything in front of my eyes on a tablet with a pen. The sentiment started to slowly start spreading around. You'd see quite a few quote tweets in support of Asami, calling this some sort of unwarranted witch hunt, accusing people like Teru for going after innocent artists and making drama out of nothing. For a second, it seemed like the tide was shifting, but Asami wasn't done just yet. Someone would quote tweet their time-lapse and say, this doesn't really prove you haven't been using AI at all, you simply aren't using it here. We all know you can draw, but proof, especially the gun error, shows you resort to AI to make the process of drawing faster without informing anyone and your clients about that part. Asami would personally quote tweet this and say, are you okay? I made this drawing in just an hour and a half. Do you really think I need this? So it went from this is AI to of course you know how to draw. Really a comedy show or just people unable to handle it. Someone else would quote Asami's tweet about the email spam, and they'd say, in quotations, quoting Asami, this drama isn't about AI or art, it's someone trying to destroy me with lies, someone who argues with me, to which they add, why this part sounds like it's written by ChatGPT, girl, it's getting worse, apologizing is easier. Asami would yet again personally quote tweet this and say, all the people in the world should apologize to you for not knowing that all the people in the world do not speak English. I'm sorry, crying emoji. I guess your next comment will be, why do you use Google? Oh, sorry, why was the internet invented? The mood was starting to shift. Asami was simply not going to take it without fighting back. This was their reputation after all, and according to them, they're innocent. Well, some people might have started to believe that, but a day or two later, after carefully scrutinizing the time-lapse, actual artists would have something to say. On December 5th, 2025, someone would say, very interesting looking color wheel you're using here, pointing out the fact that the color wheel had very weird colors. Look, a color wheel is meant to represent RGB values. You're meant to see red, orange, yellow, blue, but also green. There was no green whatsoever on this color wheel. Someone would quote tweet this and say, dude, are we dead ass? She chroma keyed out the green to hide the AI underneath. Chroma keying is the process used for green screens. You tell your editing software to just pretty much eliminate anything that looks like this color. People usually use green because
yeah, that's what we use for my vid. I get it now. What? Wait. That was kind of 5 out of her, but not so much. Because she showed the color wheel. But what the fuck? How'd she... Okay. Wow. She literally invented a new AI art method to trick over this.
Because it's not really very common to see it on clothing or other props. Here's someone recreating this in their own video, saying, not gonna lie, that's a very big brain move. I had to test it myself. Watch. So here we can see the main art turning green. They just chroma keyed it. This allows them to keep drawing on top, right? As the time lapse isn't picking up the fact that this got chroma keyed because it's chroma keyed. It's not meant to show up in the time lapse. They're literally tracing and you have no idea. It is incredibly smart. Like we have to.
But it's chroma keyed in post production, like in editing. They edited the time lapse.
Give credit where credit is due. Asami traced over green AI art and then used editing software to remove the green from her tablet. But that's a lot of effort that you could have used to actually learn how to draw.
Yeah.
After the community's findings, Asami's time-lapse video would get community noted. It would say green is completely missing from the color wheel at 1:16. but reappears later in the video. This points to the video being chroma keyed, which can be used to trace over a hidden green layer as demonstrated in the second link. This is the video we just saw. This post refutes none of the AI accusations. Asami's plan had essentially backfired horrendously. The thing with tracers and people who use AI is that they heavily underestimate how smart artists actually are, or how familiar they are with the tools that these tracers claim to be using. I mean, ask yourself this: would you try to scam a carpenter who's been in his profession for 20 years with a cheap piece of wood? No! He'll see right through you. Why would you do the same with an artist? It doesn't make sense. You're an idiot. Teru had literally said this under their Google Doc. To Asami, if you even consider replying to this, do know that I'm very much aware of AR tracing, so if you record a video of you drawing IRL, it better not just show your iPad screen and your hand holding your pen. This is also another way of faking time lapses, by the way. AR tracing is yet another method.
What's
other than
AR
chroma
tracing?
On December 4th, after Asami would post a time lapse, Teru would quote tweet that tweet we just read and say, "I had seen the situation happen once, so I'm not surprised," smiley face. Trying to disprove someone when they show you their tablet in real time is nearly impossible, and last time the person who did it still managed to fool people. The only way to prove someone is using AR or referencing from another screen is a recording of their whole setup. That's one of the main reasons.
Wait. AR is augmented reality? Somebody used augmented reality to fake a drawing? So like with Meta AI glasses and Apple Vision Pro? Oh my god, you put the image in like your AI glasses and then you draw? What? That's crazy.
That's why Asami was invited to draw with someone else on a website where they can't cheat like this. And they refused. Surprise,
what
surprise.
The fuck?
I was going to end this video by saying, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. Will they delete their account? Will they keep posting? Well, now we got our answer. They took full advantage of the whole parasocial aspect of online content creation, and now they'll always have a dedicated fan base that doesn't really care if this is AI generated or not, as long as they get to live their fantasy. Asami, however,
it's like the Filian stuff I covered, you know, the fake Filian character. They don't care, they're just there to goon, so they don't care whether the art is authentic or not. But she's probably not going to get more vegan commissions. But at this point, I think she's farming from Twitter and her Patreon, whatever she had.
Is nothing more than just another drop in the ocean. There are many people like this. This is why it's important that you take the document Teru wrote seriously and you look for these different signs that were pointed out before you commission an artist. At the same time, though, if you're not familiar with art and you're—
Oh, Asami-chan has 7K followers and hasn't posted since December 6? Oh, well, at least she did that.
Not an expert illustrator yourself, you shouldn't call out any artists for using AI. This has happened before, these false witch hunts, and they never end well. This is why AI and its role in the arts is so complex. I wish artists the best, and I hope that we can find a solution to AI stealing all their work without compensating them. Be careful out there with who you commission, and thank you so much for watching until the end. Don't forget to use the code MUJIN for 10% off your Gamer Subs order, and I'll see you in the next video whenever that
use
is.
use code CLUB!
Mwah.
Clop. I'm joking. Great video, Mujin. Thank you. Hey, you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell button. And I'll see you in the next video.